So, we're here to talk about Dragonflight. This is an unusual episode for us in terms of both of our streams. This content's going to be on YouTube as well, so don't forget to check us both out on YouTube, /youtube.com, obviously, / @TheKapFantastic or @Demeter because this content will go there after the weekend, I guess. We'll get up on Monday.
Yeah, mine won't. Yeah, I'll be on a train most of tomorrow, so it won't be tomorrow for me.
Let's say Monday. Yeah. We'll go with Monday.
Yeah, I will need kiddo snuggles when I go.
Yes.
So,
I will not need those. I don't get those anymore. So yeah, let's get into it. We're here to talk about Dragonflight. So we're going to sort of just start off, I guess, by sharing kind of like our just overall initial impressions of the expansion. We're in two different places as well. So I'm ahead in sense of completing all of the main story, all the side quests and the Sojourner achievements, and a couple of rounds of world quests. Where are you at?
I am level 67. I haven't played since Monday. I needed a break. And I got through the very emotional Tuskar funeral. And so got back to... And then you go, I think after that you go back to the Azure archives. So I've kind of done that bit. I haven't done any dungeons. I have done glyphs. I've done all of the Waking Shores glyphs. I've done about half in Renarin Plains and about half in Azure Span, I think. And I've just been really taking my time. I've started cooking. I've started fishing. I am unreasonably excited for fishing and cooking. So yeah,
love it.
That's where we're at.
Same. I think like some of the new profession stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it's mild changes, particularly to fishing, it's like fairly mild changes. Some other things are fairly massive changes, but fishing's fairly mild, and I'm loving it. I don't know why, but fishing has been maxed, and ice fishing is my new favourite thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's do initial impressions. So I guess, for me, coming into this expansion, super hype. It's not difficult to get hyped around.
You weren't, though, interestingly, were you?
I wasn't, because I guess like there were two headline features I wanted in this expansion: Gnome Shamans and player housing. So, okay, we didn't get those. And I had an emotional moment. I had a classic gamer moment where I was like, they're not doing what I want them to do. And I'm sad about that. So I guess that backed into dragons being like, okay, yeah, dragons, brilliant. Fantasy trope. Awesome. I love it. So, I guess for the community, as Neek's saying, like, it's a bit of a shock. I wasn't happy about the direction of the game. It's very unusual for me not to be pretty positive and have a sort of a positive view on things. I don't know if that's helped maybe in a way, because perhaps the game has therefore exceeded my expectations, because I've sort of gone in going, okay, dragons. But I did do a lot of background reading before the game came out and looked at all of the kind of the dragon lore and history.
Yeah.
And I guess it helped me remember, because I sort of knew already, that dragons are so baked into the lore of Warcraft. And because of that, the hype kind of really started to kind of build, and I started to engage in some of the new systems. I did beta, and dragon riding was incredible. I was literally logging in just to fly around.
Yeah.
So I think getting into it and really like diving into every single quest, every single bit of dialogue was just so much fun. So much fun. And I've never done that on stream for an expansion before. So that, I think streaming it for the first time kind of went hand in hand with my enjoyment of it. But first impressions have been spectacular. I love everything they've done. There's very little in there that is like, oh, that's concerning. Don't think that's going to go any good direction. So, there's a handful of changes and things they're tweaking, but that's expected. It's a live game. And for me, I think just the standout has been the writing and the story.
Yeah.
It feels so deep, so rich. I'm so engaged in it. Whereas I would say before, the story's always been kind of a background to the gameplay. Now the story feels like part of the game. How about you? What's been your kind of first impression?
Well, I was on board for Dragons from the moment they did the launch because I freaking love World of Warcraft Dragons. I have been an Alex Strauss stan from the moment I saw her at Wormrest Temple and then at the Wrathgate cinematic. So I was like, yes, Mommy is back! So that was amazing. And then I didn't really, obviously I kind of took a break from like January, really, from Shadowlands. But then I got Alpha. What, me? And I spent most of my time in Alpha and Beta playing the Drakthir starting zone. I did a little bit of questing, like on a copied character, and did the intro quests from the Alliance perspective. But I didn't really do a lot else. I did a lot of Evoker starting zone because I like the Death Knight starting zone, and I really wanted to see how they compared. And actually, having done it on live as well, I think it's a really good stand up to it. I don't like the Demon Hunter. Okay. I've done that, and as another class that's come in and been that, he only start at 58, the hero class type thing.
Yeah.
I feel that the Evoker starting zone has been really good. I feel the Death Knight one will always be my favourite, but it does stand up well.
I was gonna that was gonna be a follow up.
Yeah.
How do they compare for you? Yeah. Because that Death Knight starting zone is kind of like a little love affair for you. I think you love the class, you love the zone, you love the the whole kind of Death Knight lore.
Yeah.
But how did that compare to like a new introduction, a more modern introduction maybe as well? In the kind of modern starting zone.
They've done it really well. The lore that they've built into the Drakthir as a class, as a race, to shape that, because Demon Hunters and Death Knights are all on races that are already existing. So it's the first time we've had a hero class on a new race. We've had new classes on races before because we've got Monk with Pandaria. So we've had that before, but we haven't had it with a new race, new class, hero class. So that's been quite interesting. I really like them. I'm just really pleased with it. And I got on the hype early. I've really been enjoying it. My first impressions have been, I did say this on I think it was last weekend on stream. I've tweeted and said that it feels like Wrath, in that I am fully involved and invested. The reason I've had time off is nothing to do with how I feel about the game. I just needed a rest.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed that feel, but also there's an innocence in Dragonflight. And I think the Drakthir coming out of their deep slumber is part of that, and you see that with the Emberthal Legacies thing as well. There is a bit of an innocence to them, and because they aren't aware of what's happened for 10,000 years, and the storytelling around their wake up, their realization. I'll try not to spoil it if you've not played it.
Yeah, there may be some spoilers in this stream today, gang. We're getting into it, so depending on where you are, we'll try and be sensitive or flag them as we go, but brace yourself. There might be a handful that are unavoidable.
So you go through, and obviously they were created by Neltharion to be an army, and then that they had to they were basically put to sleep for 10,000 years, and it's about them rediscovering the world. And you've got Rathian and Ebonhorn trying to help them. Sibelian's not in that part, so you've got those guys trying to help them, and Rathian. Part of how I feel about Rathian is because of how he acts in the Drakthir starting zone. So if you haven't done that, I would recommend doing it to get a more developed picture of Rathian's kind of character.
Yeah, definitely. And for the lore of the evokers kind of more generally as well. Yeah. I think if you don't, with any expansion, that has a new class or something, if you don't kind of engage in that, I always feel like you're missing part of the story.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of great story there, But yeah, get back to that vibe on Rathian.
Yeah, Rathian is not my favourite. That's putting it mildly. I think he is a jumped up, egotistical, entitled little prick. There we are.
You heard it here first, gang.
Yeah. And I am not a fan. And it goes right from the start of that evoker thing. But also, I'll tell you how I really feel, Nutty, don't worry. Also, like, he's such a tiny little dragon. He's so tiny.
He is very small.
He's a very small dragon. And I know he's only supposed to be like 8 years old, and I get it and whatever, but he is so jumped up and entitled for being an 8-year-old kid. And you're just like, get back in your box. Get back in your box. And at the end of the Drakthir starting zone, Nosdormu flies in. And then you really get a sense of this is a goddamn aspect.
Yeah.
This is a little whelpling who got his head bashed in. And he's an entitled little prick. And I'm going to keep saying it. So it's the Evoker starting zone, the Rathian story in that is, I think you are missing out if you don't play through it just for that aspect.
For sure.
How have you found the Drakthir starting zone?
Yeah, do you know what? I loved it. It almost felt a bit brief. I think if I was going to give it a kind of a score out of 10 or stack rank it in there, I feel like Exile's Reach did it better. Almost.
Interesting.
But I love the lore and they're tightly packed. If it's in a stack rank, they're really close to each other. I guess I'm kind of Team Rathian. So I guess what we're seeing here is Team Rathian, Team Sibelian. So we all know who we're voting for, but it's. I
haven't got that far, but Sibelian gives me daddy vibes.
Yeah, he is hot. Like, objectively very attractive.
I'm not saying. Don't get me wrong, Rathian has a certain appeal in the aesthetics.
The true tea is that Rathian is the guy that you screw because he's clearly good at it and is cute, but you would not date. And Sibelian is the guy that will treat you right.
You see, I don't think you can knock experience, and I think Sibelian would have a lot more experience. Having done the younger guy thing, the sex was not that great.
Again, you heard it here first, gang. Probably not that great in bed.
Enthusiastic, but probably not, doesn't really know which buttons to press. So.
Sometimes all you need is enthusiasm. That's all I'm saying. You can work with that. So Apollo saying Team Caligos all the way. Give me that sensitive aspect.
Okay. It is.
Yeah, let's we should get on to Caligos in a minute. Yeah. Let's try and go, I guess, kind of like a little bit in order through some of the things that we kind of wanted to talk about, and then we'll get on to some of the questions and maybe some of the other story beats as well. But remind me, we had like a little list of things we wanted to touch on. So
we
pick one.
We were gonna. We wanted to talk about the Drakthir starting zone. So
we did.
Our overall first impressions. I think we've kind of done that. And then a particular standout moment, a favourite zone so far.
Let's do that. Let's start with standout moment and then maybe favourite zone. So answer that one first. Standout moment.
I've got two.
Okay.
So my first one, some of you may have seen me get excited about this on stream. Or both of them actually. The first one is when you're doing the Brackenhide quest with the Tuskar and you're floating around with Caligos, and Caligos is using portals to pop out of.
Oh my god, yeah.
And he goes, on your left!
That's so good.
And I went, to my Cap America! I love it! So that was that, or I'm Falcon and he's Cap. I don't know, whichever, it doesn't matter.
I'm Cap.
So yeah. So that made me squeal.
That was great.
The one that really got me, and I suspect that this is in part because on Monday I was very tired, a little bit emotional, and I did the Tuskar funeral. And as somebody who has sailors in the family and has scattered ashes out to sea and whose father would like to go through that process. I was a little bit close to the bone, and I had to kind of like, I mean, the guys that saw me on stream with that, I sort of had to turn away and just have a little moment, compose myself. And I'm quite happy to cry on stream. Like at the end of Shadowbringers, end of Stormblood, coming into Shadowbringers in Final Fantasy, I could not stop crying. It was every 5 seconds. I was just...
Wow, so let's touch on that for a second, actually, and I'll share my moments in a minute. But this is the first WoW expansion where the story has done that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a couple of story beats that I can think of from the past, like Asira, like taking one for the team and getting turned by Xavius, and a few kind of other bits and pieces. Maybe Arthas's death, where it's touching.
Yeah.
But those are big headline story beats.
Yeah.
I have cried over quests that involve ducklings.
It's going to be the writing and your age.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, it could be getting older, perhaps a touch more sensitive. I don't know, but I think there are so many moments in the side questing that are reminiscent to me of Final Fantasy storytelling style, where they take you on a little story and they punch you. A character might pass away or something might happen, and you're like, whoa! Like you sat there in tears. And I think one of the ones that got me was a duckling. That was a standout moment. Pilot is my new best friend. But there's that little section there where, and again, it's all side quests. You might not have gotten there yet, so
it's all right.
Might explore it. But it's by the Ruby Life Pools. So if you've done the side questing there, you would have done it. But
is it a little dwarf?
No, it's when you pop off down the side of the Ruby Life Pools, and you've got to meet 3 kind of red dragonkin and help them out with their little things.
Yes.
And one of them's like,
which one you mean.
One of them's like, oh, there's this amazing myth about a dragon's skeleton that in this beautiful area might sing to us if we make the right kind of sacrifice or offering.
Yeah.
And you're there and it doesn't work, and then you're like, oh, that's really touching. They're really sad that didn't work, and they kind of they just want to believe in the myth. They just want to believe. And then you go off and help the others, and they're like, oh, let's help some little bugs, and then we're going to rearrange some bees so that they're happy, and then we're going to help some little ducklings or whatever. And then you go back, and this one's like, oh, I'm still really sad, and oh, the myth didn't work out. And then you're like, well, let's release all the animals here anyway, because they'll be happy here. And of course, it's the animal song. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. It's the animal song that makes the sound, the song from Myth. For some reason, that just killed me. I don't know why, but it was a massive standout moment. And I think the other ones for me are those amazing moments where representation matters.
Yeah.
Like the Ruby Life Pools is being attacked. Razageth is in the air. Alexstrasza's flying around. And McGill and Thomas are like, we love each other. Can you make my boyfriend a gift with crafting? And I'm like,
needs a present.
I'm like, honey, fuck the dragon.
Babe, let me in. What do you need?
Alexstrasza's got this. Where's my fucking crafting hat?
Does she though?
What do you? Well, I mean, still maybe. You can check out my reaction video to that later. But I was just like, I need to fucking make this gift immediately. And then the other one would be that centaur couple who were trying to propose to each other, and you were like, oh my god, I'm learning so much about like the marriage culture, the proposal culture, the culture of this race that we haven't really spent real time with them before.
No.
And it was super cute. And then like, oh god,
and those new centaur models,
so good.
I mean, obviously, I haven't seen them in super duper detail yet. New PC coming next week, we hope. Fingers crossed. And then, so I'm looking forward to like seeing their faces again. I think something has happened. I noticed this with Lord Hearn. There was something about Lord Hearn in Ardenweald And I think I might be a furry, but I didn't know this before. Because Lord Hearn is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
His face, I don't know what they did, but his face is just beautiful. And the centaurs, especially the centaur women.
They're hotties. Huddy, toddy.
Let me ride that back, lady. I will look after you. They're amazing.
I will brush you.
I will brush you,
every day.
care for you. I know all the grooming things for the ponies at a time. So.
Pony minis and My Little Pony.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think it's all, and yeah, those little side quests. I mean, the Veritistras. I think it's Veritistras.
Yeah.
Because Veritas is truth.
Yes.
And I think that's where they've taken his name from. That is exquisite. That's really well done. There's also little side quests. There's the 2 orcs, which I haven't finished yet. I know what I've obviously guessed what's happened, but they've set it up incredibly well. Yes, Genevieve, Sindragosa. So actually, I would have to say seeing Sindragosa was a bit of a moment. And the reason that seeing her was a bit of a moment, not only is she a person of colour as a main NPC, she's fucking beautiful. And her character as a dragon in Wrath was one of the first bosses that I bashed my head against as a tank and really taught me a lot.
Yeah.
But also, because of that, I have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of fondness.
Brings back that bond.
Yeah, and seeing her and the way she talks to Pelagos.
The voice acting.
Oh, I'm like, Alexstrasza is mommy, but like Sindragosa, she might have to be my naughty stepmom.
Oh yeah.
She's just exquisite.
Oh boy. Okay, let's get on to favourite zones. I'm just going to catch up on the chat a little bit because people have been popping off. So, Norgal, thank you very much for the sub. Much appreciated. Totally, EJ. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to the chat for the first time over here, and welcome to the community. Calic is Anduin 2.0. Interesting technique. I kind of agree. They have a similar vibe until Calic's a dragon, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, Susie, welcome in, and do cover your ears if we're giving spoilers. There will be some spoilers here today, so we're doing our best to flag them as we go. Yes, so
some might just slip out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
some might
just what happens with
these dragons.
Slip out and in, and you know.
But favourite zone, go. Bearing in mind you haven't done them all yet.
Yeah, so I haven't seen Taldrassus or Valderaken yet. I have to say Onara Plains. And it is in part for the centaur.
Mm-hmm.
Green dragons. I thought the Green Dragon story was very touching. I like the way that you're working to bring these people together.
Yes.
Obviously there's a bad guy, and you're uniting the other clans and whatnot, and they're led by women.
Which I love, and also. Let's flag that a woman who communicates through a speaker as a person that is, deaf and mute.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, really fantastic. Again, more representation in the game.
Yeah. Her doggo, Basran. I know Tyvan is a very good boy, but Basran for me is bestest boy because he's a service doggo.
Yeah. And
you go to pet him and he says you can't pet him right now. He's working. He's a service dog. You shouldn't pet service doggos. And it's just something so small, but it's a real life scenario that they've put in the game that actually will raise awareness for quite a lot of people.
Absolutely. And actually, we don't see that on television often enough. So it's great to see it in a game setting. And it actually kind of reminded me of the Joey Lucas character in West Wing, who is one of my favourite West Wing characters. Yes. And it's that same kind of thing. They're sort of telling that same sort of story, similar sort of character. And I love that. I think
she's a fucking great character. She's so powerful. If you haven't watched The West Wing, it took me years, but do go and watch it. It's awesome.
Yeah, if you haven't watched West Wing, what are you doing with your life? Frankly,
stop right now. Go and watch it.
Stop after we've done, and then go and watch it.
When we go and have a nap.
Yeah, thank you for the gifted subs, Vera.
Oh, you love.
I love you. So you've given a sub to Hell Winther, Redscapes, Sasha77, and Runner 027 and Jackson
Brown. Okay.
Well, we're not going to ask Jackson why his pants are brown, but why their pants are brown, but there we are. Kayla, thank you so much as well for gifting another sub to Lanalu. Okay. So, that happens to me. Wait.
Okay. Sidebar. We'll come back to Kap's favourite zone in a minute. We're going to do a quick sidebar.
We're not going to forget. We will get back there.
Somebody remind us if we do.
Please. That I find that happen when I'm on somebody's stream and other people like gift subs or do a sub. I actually do. It encourages me to do it. Is that weird? Is that just me?
No, we want people approval.
Okay.
And when a streamer reads out our name, we go, oh! Because that's what happens.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Favourite zone. So,
we know how it works.
We do.
Welcome, lovely new follower, whoever you may be.
No, thank you for the follow. This changes a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Nick said it a minute ago. I cannot wait until you complete the questions and addresses.
Okay.
Because I won't give any spoilers, but it is.
So this is the bronze.
It's the bronze flight. So obviously it's wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Yeah.
But it stands out from a storytelling point of view and an experience point of view as a very different type of zone to all the others. It's incredibly distinct in what happens and the experience you go on and the little adventure you have. It's really, really cool. It's not my favourite zone.
Okay.
But it is a very strong contender. And again, I just sort of want to make the point of, I'm going to talk about favourite zone, but if I was to stack rank them, they're so tightly packed that it's barely worth picking one.
Yeah.
It's almost like, do you know what, they're all just fantastic.
Yeah. Just give me the whole Dragon Isles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, with that said, it swaps for me between the Anaran Plains and the Azure Span. At the moment, it's the Azure Span.
Tomorrow, it might be the Anaran Plains.
It could be the Anaran Plains. But the reason for that is because both of those zones do something I think quite unique in a really, really great way. And that is introduce us not only to a race that maybe we haven't spent much time with or that we, don't know much about. So we're learning about them, but they introduce us to a culture.
Yes.
And it's those cultures, those Tuscar cultures, those, Centaur cultures are so deep, so well told that it is impossible to not love both of those zones. And what I love about those zones is that in both cases, the zone is also intrinsically linked to the culture of those people.
Yeah.
So if you think about the Centaur and the Anaran Plains, their whole culture is built around the hunts and almost kind of like ecology, really, like managing the livestock in that zone. They're built for covering large distances quickly. And the plains is a massive expanse. And then you look at the Tuscar, and it's all
holy people.
Oh, I love them.
I'd like Brenna to be my mother.
Oh my god, Brenna's like the true MVP of the game right now, I think. But they, again, they're so perfectly suited to that environment. It's all the ice flows and they're ice fishing and they're training their otters and
that took me back to Dragonflight as well.
Yes.
With the Tuscar, which was one of my favourite zones.
Absolutely.
Because of the story. Not necessarily I'm not a big snow aesthetic person, but I do like the story in Dragonflight. And the Tuscar again were like that. Yeah,
I think Azure Span is just very special. And, I think the funeral rites piece of the culture that you get, which that cinematic was so unexpected because obviously I did the main quest chain through beta.
Yeah.
So I'd done that quest.
Yeah.
And I was like...
But you'd not seen
carrying on.
It's fine.
But then with the cinematic and Kalak being like, you've taught me the true meaning of family, I was just like, oh, that's great. Like, what's happening?
And when you think about the history of the blue Dragonflight, there's not a lot of them around.
Exactly. I mean,
they've
had a very similar experience to the black Dragonflight in many ways. Their leader kind of ultimately went mad and their flight has been decimated. Yeah. But so many good moments in that zone. So that for me, I think is favourite zone by a small smidge, by a hair's breadth, with the Naran Plains being interchangeable.
Yeah.
Waking Shores I loved, but
See, I did like Waking Shores, and I think I probably spent too long in Waking Shores at the
Yes.
beginning because I did every quest I could find, and I think it burnt me out a little bit. And I do it every goddamn expansion. Every goddamn expansion. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to pick up all the quests. I'm going to read all the text. And then I get like a certain point in and I'm like, oh, everybody else is like level 68. I'm level 64 and I've not left the starting zone. What am I doing wrong? And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong.
you're enjoying the game.
You're enjoying what you're doing,
Yeah.
but you're getting to the point now where actually you want to move a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Which is what I did when I got to an Naran Plains. Just did the MSQ, went through a lot quicker, got into Azure Span, have done the same thing in Azure Span, then took a break and went and got loads of glyphs, got a few more of those sorted out, so that was great. But what I realised while we've just been talking, so there's a green, blue, bronze zone.
Sure are.
Waking Shores is black and red in the same zone,
It is, yeah.
which strikes me as a little odd. Why don't they have their own separate zones?
It's
More to come, I'm sure, from Blizzard.
Yeah. That was interesting to me because I think it actually might be why that would be kind of like the bottom of my stack rank. Only because it meant both the black and the red flight storytelling was a little brief.
Yeah.
Just a little brief.
Yeah.
Not awfully, but just a little brief for me. So
Yeah.
I felt like I sort of rushed. The story felt rushed, even though I didn't rush in that
Yeah.
zone. And then when I got into the other zones, I was like, okay, now I'm really engaged in like a green story and a blue story and a bronze story. And it meant that, on reflection, you get to the end of the campaign, you look back and the black and red flight stories feel a little bit.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I really did enjoy in Waking Shores was Alexstrasza and Rathian having an argument and actually not agreeing on what should happen and where to go and what the priority was, and and you see the cracks.
Yeah.
And we've seen this. I think again, if you play through the Evoker storyline, you see more of Alexstrasza going, I think I've made some mistakes.
Yeah.
And you see those
Definitely.
cogs starting to turn. And then when Rathian confronts her, and there's a confrontation there that she's a little bit self-righteous and a little bit proud, and he's classic Rathian, entitled little prick. But he had, in that moment he had a fair point. There was two big conflicting things happening, and it was about, well, where do we go? Where is our priority? And actually, I did need to do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I guess the story of that zone allowed that conflict to kind of come to the fore, because it was a case of, well, we've got this thing to do and also this thing is happening. We can't do both. Maybe you, hero, can go do both things. Whilst you're also busy making a gift for Miguel.
Yeah.
But I think I guess putting them both in the same zone allowed that.
Yes.
So it was a storytelling kind of mechanic.
And it was a good one. Like Neeks just said, is Alex going to be the big bad? If she's the big right, I'll say this now on the record. If they make Alexstrasza the big bad, I will quit WoW. I will say that now on the
That's some fighting talk.
I don't know how long I'd quit it for, but I would quit it at least for 5 minutes.
Put it briefly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I want to touch on Sterling's point there as well. It is interesting how mentally taxing it can be to kind of do all the quests. Now, obviously, I did the whole thing on stream, which was a goal I set for myself to be like, I want to do, if I'm playing the game questing, I'm doing it on stream.
Yeah.
So I've done everything on stream, minus a handful of side quests. But the point I kind of wanted to make, and I think you're sort of touching on it in terms of where you're at in the story right now, is that I got to around about the Naran Plains, towards the end of that, and then I was like, oh, I can't pick up every side quest. And I was like, I'm going to do the ones I see on the way, but I'm not going to go looking for Sojourner content. And that's how I kind of got over that kind of mentally taxing
It is exhausting, yeah.
It is, because you're learning all these different stories, you've got a lot to juggle in your mind, you're meeting all these different characters. So it helped actually to be like, you know what? Back to Sojourner later, concentrate on the campaign, and then tidy up. But they are written in a way that I think allows that.
Yes.
Have you hit that kind of point where you're like, yeah, actually, I can't keep picking up all these quests?
Yeah, well, I hit that when I came out of Waking Shores.
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do as much going through the rest of the zones. And I'm okay with that. And I know that I'll go back and do them. But with everything that I did in the Waking Shores, thinking I'd got everything, I didn't get Sojourner. There's still 2 things that I have to get. And I was like, how? How have I missed things? Yeah. I've literally done every fucking quest I could find. And that's how I felt. But I was like, it's okay, it's fine. There's more content for me to go back to. It's okay. It's not a problem. So I'm just, I'll be playing on Monday night, and I'll obviously be streaming it, and I'll just take my time and not put so much. I wasn't putting pressure on myself, but I think because I was ill the week of launch,
that sucked.
I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to do because I needed rest. And then I pushed a bit more, like over that weekend and onto the Monday. And I was like, you know what? I actually just need to step away.
Yeah.
Because I was coming down here for the weekend. I hadn't done anything. I haven't packed. I haven't prepped anything for the kid or the dog. The house is a wreck. I've got to make sure that stuff's sorted.
Need that time.
And I did need it, and it did me the world of good. So I am keen to get back. But then I'm going to have another enforced break when the PC arrives anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to flip everything over. But big brain moment. Don't delete anything off the old one until it's installed on the new one.
True fact. Important.
I'm still awake enough to remember that.
Make a note now, because that's the sort of thing that I'll say to myself and forget.
Yeah. So that, and then I've got there's a few other peripheral things that I still need to order, but that's fine. This weekend's been very expensive, folks. But yeah, so we'll sort all of that out, and then I'll be, I'm hoping that I'll be up and running very quickly with the new system. Anyway, my goal for the end of next week, really, or end of this coming week, is that I'll be 70. Nice. And that I'll have done the campaign. Yeah. And then I think I want to do cooking and fishing first.
Love it.
I'm really excited to get back to cooking and fishing. It's one of the things that I love about WoW, and they haven't done this since MOP, was when you can get an achievement for eating food in the game.
Yes. And there is a lot of food, and it's hard to find the recipes, and it's hard to make. The feasts are...
And in MOP, I maxed out cooking, and I had all the almost every recipe you could get. And it's the first time I'd ever done anything like that.
It was good.
And it was just so ridiculous, but I really enjoyed it. And I want to do that again. So definitely cooking. And fishing, I just find fishing so relaxing.
It's great, isn't it? I love it.
It's a very different experience from Final Fantasy fishing, which is also a great little mini game in itself.
Yes.
Seriously, Final Fantasy fishing is... you can do ocean fishing. It's amazing on a boat.
Final Fantasy fishing is peak.
Yeah.
I feel like WoW's still got a little way to go. They could develop it further, for sure. Yeah. But it's in a good place. The daily Tuskar fishing quests are great.
Cooking and fishing right now.
Yeah, I was going to say let's catch up on chat, because Chloe's cooking and fishing as we speak. I love this. Nate's saying the Ruby Feast achievement is going to take a while. It will. Yeah. Just trying to get the stuff together for Feast for the Guild is a mission. It's a mission in itself. The feasts are a lot. And again, I think a lot of people are saying similar things. Got to 66 when they hit the plains. The same for me. I was about 68, I think, before I walked into these span. And that's when I was like, I'm just going to get the campaign done. Because then at least the world quests are going to pop whilst I'm doing Sojourner. Yeah. And a lot of people are saying the same sort of thing about Sojourner. So I just want to sort of touch on some of the questions we've been asked, because people have sent questions. Can you believe?
Thank you.
This is how the internet works. So thank you for anyone and everyone that has sent a question. If you've got something you kind of want us to talk about, or you would like to ask a question as well, stick it in chat and we'll try and get to it.
If there's a point you've made that we've missed as well, now is a good time, because we will come back and check chat again now.
Definitely. So the fantastic Just Gala, also a streamer, Just Gala _ TTTV on Twitter, has asked us several questions, and I'd like to go through them all actually because I think they're really, really good. So firstly, what have you enjoyed most about the expansion release so far?
So for pure fun and also elements of frustration, dragon riding in the Waking Shores when you first get it, I am not the best. It was difficult for me. I struggled with it. Then I got some more glyphs, and then I've been going off finding glyphs, and that's been really fun. And it is hella fun to like go boom and smack into the ground and just make
and
big
kill all the critters,
and kill everything, and be like. Yeah. And I use the Velociraptor looking dragon, and he's called Basil, and I love him because he's an ugly beast, and it's just great. That's been really good. But actually, honestly, something that I think like probably like you and the community, our sort of communities have noticed, is the inclusiveness of this expansion. And I haven't seen all of it. I haven't seen the Centaur proposals yet. But the right husbands and the female leadership and the deaf mute leader and the service dog and they're just there. There's no big deal about it, and it's like, yeah, that's how it should be. That's how we try and exist in the world.
Exactly.
We don't want to go around waving flags.
Of society.
But if you're not going to allow us to do what you're all allowed to do, we are going to wave our fucking flags until you sort it out.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. So that has been a standout for me. I've noticed somebody else has said, and I hadn't thought about this, is the sense of family that has come through.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that Tuskar thing as well. But also the centaurs, they have strong connections to each other, and there's a whole tribe, like a whole clan in the centaurs, where they're actually just made up of other people from the other clans, but they have the connection to their spirit guide. Sorry if I've got that term wrong.
That's sort of wild god, isn't it? I've seen Lunara as a wild god.
They will, yeah. So that kind of, they've been able to go and explore what they want to do. That's been really lovely. I still haven't done any dungeons, partly because I can't load into them.
By the time you get there, everybody else is like...
By the time I get there, they kick me out because they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like...
The new PC is coming, gang. Don't worry. Yeah. Demi dungeon content is on its way.
Yeah. So I think those two things are like what have stood out to me the most. Yeah. What about you?
Interesting. I think for me, interestingly, it's not actually necessarily something that is the game. I think for me, it's the fact that what has happened at Blizzard over the last couple of years has been profoundly difficult on a human level for every person working there. And, particularly with both of us working in HR, you can have a lot of empathy for what the team at Blizzard have gone through. Yeah. And I think my favourite thing about this expansion is that what they did with that on a human level was pour their heart and souls into, I think, probably one of the best expansions we've ever seen at this point. Yeah. As it stands.
We're not allowed to say it's the best expansion ever because we've got to wait 2 or 3 months.
Got to wait 2 or 3 months. Can possibly enjoy ourselves now. Sorry, you're not allowed to have fun now because we don't know what the patch is going to be like. Anyway, moving on from that utter nonsense. Yeah. As it stands right now, you can tell that they've poured so much love and so much hope for the future into this expansion. And to the point you were making earlier about the evokers, the Dragonflight kind of waking up, it feels like Blizzard has woken up with them to this.
They've got woke, but they've not gone broke.
Yeah. Work. But to this possibility of a new future, a new era for World of Warcraft, where, I think the evokers are, they've got free will, but actually I think what's happened in a way is Blizzard has freed itself from its cultural kind of issues and its cultural history And it is so wonderful to see a majority, not everybody, because hate is going to hate, but to see a majority of people having this really great launch experience, this really great first few weeks with the Dragon Isles. And I feel like that team needed that.
Yes.
And I feel like we as players needed it as well.
Yes.
And for me, they've delivered it.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the thing that I just think is the best part of this expansion is how incredibly proud they should all be of what they've done.
I concur.
Yeah.
And also, there's something that occurred to me earlier on, was Blizzard recently, I think like in the last 24 hours, have released an article about why the launch was a bit messy.
Such a good article.
I haven't had a chance to read it, but everybody that I've heard talk about it has said it's a really good article.
Great.
And I think that's what we used to get, stuff like that, and we haven't. And I think they've changed the way they work with content creators, a la Twitch drops and all sorts of other things that haven't happened before. And I think as content creators, we feel very supported at the moment by Blizzard.
Yes, definitely.
Even
as somebody that isn't a WoW partner, I'm feeling the love them. Yet.
We're working on it.
It's going to happen. Keep telling your friends we're here. But even as somebody that isn't kind of linked into that community in a direct way, I'm feeling the support. I mean, it goes without saying that a lot of the additional subscriptions and the additional followers have come off the back of those Twitch drops.
Yeah. And the raids.
And absolutely.
What people might not realise is when you're doing this as like a hobby, the raids that have come through. So I know of 2 raids that came eventually to me and then went to other people, but they came from Race to World Firsters originally, and those guys are like the very top. Unless you're Towley or Preach, the next guys are like the Race to World Firsters really, and they went through other people and eventually to me and then on to other places, and that makes a huge difference. You can't and that's just because of the drops. Those people would not have done that otherwise.
Absolutely.
They would have raided their mate like they normally do, but they chose to raid somebody else in the Warcraft community and bring those people through. And that has been phenomenal. I know quite a lot of you in my community, certainly, and I think probably in yours as well, have come through those and have decided to stick around, and that's incredible. That's because Blizzard have worked hard with Twitch. It's not been perfect. There have been problems.
Absolutely.
Some people haven't been able to claim their fell drakes and things like that. But as a first attempt, it's been pretty good. And I think that's part of that whole change within Blizzard I feel like they were really closed.
Yes, I think they'd closed ranks a little bit around some of the issues they had. Like, heads down, we need to fix this.
Yeah.
So let's think about
it feels like they've come out of their kind of hibernation almost.
Yeah.
They're a glowing butterfly out of the cocoon.
They very much are. So, how are you feeling about your main class?
Well, she's pretty much demolished everything, so I don't feel like I was a bit worried because I didn't have a super high eye level going into the Waking Shores. I'm not even 300 now. I think I'm like 278 or something.
Yes, and a ways to go.
Yeah, and she was 265 maybe. I don't know. Anyway, she wasn't spectacularly high, and she still romped through things. I've died a couple of times, but let's be honest, most of it's been through falling rather than death.
Most of it's been I'm mounting my dragon in midair, or putting the wrong button and throwing myself up.
Yeah, that may have happened once or twice.
Yeah, I've done that a few times.
So not, there's maybe like 2-3 deaths and like mobs, nothing like major. And I was a bit worried. It'll be interesting taking the hunter through, who has a lower eye level again. So yeah, she's ripping through stuff, demolishing things. I've got most of the talents that I would like. There's a few tweaks that I would probably make on my talent tree. But I have definitely gone down an unholy Death Knight build of give me every single goddamn minion I can have, please. So I have...
Got a party going on.
Yeah. In fact, I took a picture and I took a screenshot at the end of the Unaran Plains on the beach, defeating whatever that elemental night elf was. And I had about 10 minions up. So I had army, whatever the other one is, my normal minion, 2 caster minions, I can't remember. But the picture was so dark, it didn't actually do it justice. So I'm going to do it, obviously I'll do it again, and I'll take a better picture and be like, when you say you and whose army, you best not say it to an unholy death knight, because we bring our army.
I mean, you're literally running around surrounded by chaos, which I love.
Yep.
But
so my gargoyle. I've got my gargoyle back. George the gargoyle is back.
We missed George.
He's never been called George before. That is now his name. So that was something really silly, but like I really enjoyed it.
It's nice being able to pick those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's also quite nice, like looking at the talent builds and being like, there's probably no perfect way to do this.
No.
You know, some will sim better than others, but you know, there's enough flexibility in there to actually have a bit of fun. Which I like. That hasn't been the case for a while.
Yeah.
I think for me, like Hunter feels like it's in a good place. It doesn't feel so high up there that it's gonna get the nerf hammer come for it.
Yeah, there's a few nerfs gone out in the last few hours, I think.
I'm sorry, if your teammates are laying dead on the floor, and that happened at the start of the boss fight, and you can tank all the way through that boss fight and win, that's not working as intended. Like, now I know that nerf is not going to feel good, but that is
tanks low.
Yeah, not working as intended. Okay, I don't want to be bored shitless watching one person kill a boss that 4 of us can handle. Yeah. Like that's not okay. A tank should need a healer. So you know, I think that some of those changes are necessary, but. For Hunter, it feels like it's in a really good place. The talent trees are fun. I've also been going towards kind of like the more animals. Shall I summon some bees? Which has been fun. That's got me into kind of the glyphs as well.
Yeah.
It felt great coming into the Dragon Isles and not struggling.
Yeah.
Because at the start of most expansions, even if you're, you know, kind of like mythic geared, you go in and you feel the push. The game starts to push back on you really hard, and you're like, oh God, okay, this again. And then you don't start to feel it ease off probably until you've got raid gear, to be honest. But this time I've gone in and felt like, I'm smashing it.
Yeah.
Smashing through it. It hasn't felt awful. I didn't have to lose all of my gear in the first, 6 to 8 levels. And then when I got to max, the game pushes back a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of friction there around about 70 when you first pop. And everything kind of hits that level 70 mark. And it's just enough to start feeling like, shit, I do need to look at my talents. I do need to think about, my rotation and what I'm doing and am I doing it in the right order? But it fairly quickly starts to ease off again as you gear. So it feels good. Like Hunter feels good. Yeah. I'm enjoying it. And sometimes I'm literally just pushing buttons and running around killing stuff, and I'm just like, this just feels great. I'm having like a good time. And that's great, particularly as a Skinner, because I need to better enjoy smashing buttons. So,
Nick's just saying that he hit max in the same gear that he started with the Warlock.
I mean, I almost did as well on Hunter.
So I have started replacing gear. I think around 66 I did start replacing gear. But I was significantly lower, I wasn't raid geared in any way, shape or form. So I did have 2 legendaries, but I didn't really have, and some tier pieces, but they weren't full level or anything.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm pleased that I wasn't ruffle stomped as soon as I got on the Waking Shores, which is what I was kind of thinking might happen.
Yeah, I was absolutely expecting it. That first area with all those proto drakes, which is full of drakes, like coming at you all the time. I was just like, I'm just going to
I'll be interested to see, like I said, I'll be interested to see how the Hunter goes through and the Evoker. Because I've taken them, but they're both sitting there ready to go. But obviously the Evoker's fresh out of the starting zone.
Yeah.
They don't have anything
starting zone
else.
gear. That's it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Especially because I have no corking clue how to play an Evoker right now.
They're fun. The DPS is fun. I haven't tried the healing, but the DPS is fun. I know that Vera in our guild was going to main Evoker healer.
Nice.
And has swapped back to Shaman.
Oh,
So I think there's definitely
well, it's a big learning curve.
Yeah.
And when it's a
and it
new,
doesn't maybe pump as much as some
Yeah.
of the healers, I think.
there's also the thing of when it's a brand new class, there aren't as many. There's not as much information out there. There's not
Yeah.
as much kind of in this situation. Of course, there's still people out there that have gone away and done all the numbers and the theory, the sims and all the rest of it around like how to play this class. But everybody's learning at the same time.
Yeah.
And that knowledge that is baked in isn't there, so much as if you've got a longer running class. So I think that it's a challenge.
Yeah.
We've got somebody in our guild who's gone Evoker and they've maxed out Preservation and Devastation.
Wow.
So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So
Okay.
any other questions in chat? Let us know. I've got one more question from Gayla here, and it's a big one. Brace yourselves, and it'd be really interesting to see what people think in chat as well. Speculatively, where do you think the expansion is going to go?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts around this. Although, actually, I'm pretty clear about where I think we're going to go. And I shall explain this now. Tinfoil hats on, everybody.
Insert
And
tinfoil hat. Hop.
Potential spoilers ahead. So, gird your loins. We're going in. Brace, we're going in. So, one of the first boss in Vault of Incarnates, Razagath. Elemental dragon, right? Storm, air, dragon. Mentioned in the Evoker starting zone by Alexstrasza, Iridicron. Also an elemental dragon, but we don't know which element.
Yep.
Supposedly far more powerful than Razagath.
Yes.
Okay.
Razagath is the youngest of the primates.
Yes. So then, so if you think Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, two other elements, Decay and Spirit.
We have seen other ones, haven't we? We've seen Order, Chaos, and something else. That elements. As well.
They're not classed as elements bound to Azeroth.
Interesting point. Yeah.
So one of the things that differentiates Azeroth from other planets, for want of a better term, is that it has spirit. Outland has the other 4 elements, but doesn't have spirit.
Okay.
And can't remember about Decay. So my theory is that the 4 elemental dragons, Razagath, Iridicron, 2 as yet unnamed ones, represent those 4 elements. I postulate that Galakron started out representing spirit and became the decay. And when you're doing Brackenhide with Caligos and all the gnolls and when you meet Brenna, they talk about how these gnolls are exposed to decay. Yep. And everything in Brackenhide is about decay. And they talk about it a lot. And I think that the Galakron will be the end boss. And I'm not saying that Alexstrasza might not have a moment in here, but if she is the final big bad, I will lose my shit. I think Galakron is going to be the final big bad as the decay boss.
Interesting.
I don't quite know how they get there.
That's it, isn't it? It's like, how do we get
But that's not my job. That's
their job. They've got to figure that out.
So that's what I'm leaning quite heavily towards.
Okay.
Having played through the bits that I've played through.
Yep.
I mean, I think there is an argument that it could be Morozond. I haven't gone through the bronze bit yet, so I don't know how that plays out. That's where I think we're going to go at the moment. I reserve the right to change my mind.
Okay. I mean,
based on more evidence.
Equally, I reserve the right to change my mind. I've got a slightly different perspective because I've obviously gone through the whole story.
Yeah.
There's some things that I think are almost certain to happen. We are absolutely going into the Emerald Dream in a patch. There is no way that's not happening. It's probably the first patch. Because there's that great little sort of secret squirrel moment. Spoilers if you've not been there and done it. But if you haven't been to the Emerald Dream portal, which is sat in the kind of end of the story for the Unaran Plains of the Green Dragons, you can kind of follow off, follow them up when the story ends and go to the Emerald Dream portal. And there's a little secret moment there, spoiler alert, between Malfurion, Tyrande, and Marithra. And they obviously have the seed, the World Tree seed, that they've been keeping safe over the last 3-5 years. And they talk to Marithra, and Marithra's recommendation is, let's keep it safe in the Emerald Dream. Now, obviously, a lot of people are like, oh, well, why didn't they do that in the last 5 years? Because people, read your lore, my friends. The Emerald Dream is a mirror representation of Azeroth. So if we could not access the Dragon Isles until now, we also couldn't access this particular part of the Emerald Dream, which would be the representation of the Dragon Isles in the Emerald Dream. So I think that's kind of covered in the lore. And honestly, if we get to the end of this expansion and there is not a world tree in that part of the Unaran Plains, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to do some sort of eating nasty things on stream challenge.
So do we think that would be the Night Elves? The Night Elves would basically move to the Dragon Isles?
I hope so. I think that the elves are really linked to the dragons. I think they're going to grow a new world tree. But let's not forget, we're not designing anymore in a modular fashion. So they're talking about stories that are going to extend well beyond, I think, probably the end of the expansion. So the area around it is also relatively well formed. It's all like islands with nothing going on, but it's all relatively well formed. You can see where they might run routes over the ground as well. I've had a good look. So I feel like that could happen.
There is an area, I said this on stream, there is an area off Unaran Plains that is just a chain of islands.
Yes.
I flew round them.
That's where the tree is going to go.
And there's something in the middle that looks like...
It's a bit of empty water, really.
Yeah.
I think that's where the tree is going to go. So,
it's a lot.
So we're doing that. That's either patch 1 or 2. We also know that there's a lot of references in data references, in fact, to an underground place. So I think it's also likely that we will have a patch that takes us somewhere underground. Now, let's not forget, in Alderman, we found a book that talked about an offshoot of the dwarves, who have developed culturally very similarly, but probably look quite different, around an anomaly of some description. And we know that we still need to turn on the last Oathstone as well. So we've got some stuff going on around the Oathstone. We've got some stuff going on around potentially these dwarves, some other underground area, perhaps another race to kind of meet and connect with. So that, I think, is probably going to be some sort of piece of patch content. I think the Morrison storyline is very appealing. There's a cinematic that I won't go into detail in, but
being too kind.
My feeling is that one of my favourite trans gnome characters is probably going to take us on a fun little questing adventure, Caverns of Time style, at some point, and potentially find a way to stop that happening. I think we might get a story about stopping Morrizond by time travel and timelines rather than a story about Nozdumi becoming Morrizond. Or we might get that and then we reverse it. I don't know. But I think that could play in there somewhere. And the story is definitely set for that to happen.
Excellent.
And then I think to Nick's point as well, I do think potentially the expansion could end with Galakrond coming back. We have got the Twilight's Hammer again. They are present on the Dragon Isles. So there's some little side quests that will take you around there.
So that's Twilight's Hammer. We've got Grim Totem.
We've got the Grim Totem dude who kind of like released Razageth in the first place. So we've got some bad folks, bad folks. But what I love is it's not just one storyline. It's lots of little different storylines, all with great potential to tell something really exciting.
As long as they complete them and tie them off and give me that satisfaction of a completed story, even if it's not the ending I want, if it's just a completed story, I will be glad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need that story completion satisfaction.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Twilight's Hammer or somehow the old gods are involved and that Galakrond gets raised, like Nick said, it's a void dragon, and that takes us on the Intergalactic Disco War. that seems unfortunately inevitable. I'm not sure how I feel about that expansion, but the storytelling feels good. And also, there's as Chloe said, there's the things between Odin and the Titans as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really rich story threads that they can pull on. But those I think are kind of my speculative thoughts, backed up with a little bit of data mining and in-game stuff as well. It's exciting. Isn't it exciting?
It is.
I don't think I've ever felt so excited about a patch coming out. Because like sometimes you get into an expansion and you're just like, oh, there'll be a patch. And then it's like, oh, we're going to Nazjatar, or something like that. These I'm excited about. I'm excited about the story.
Yeah, I'm excited to know where we're going. I mean, I'm kind of trying, like, I love all this speculation, and I love reading through stuff and going, this feeds into my theory. This is all about Galakrond. This is what's going to happen. And that's great, but I'm also very much trying to enjoy where I'm at with it as well. Mm-hmm. And that's, I am taking it slow. I'm not, there's people that are like, there's always the argument, isn't there, that people say, oh, there's nothing to do. It's like, well, there's actually a lot to do. Yeah. You just you're just not doing it. Yeah, you've basically burnt through what could be a month's worth of content in a week. Because you play 12 hours a day, which is fine if you're able to do that. I'm not at all jealous that certain friends have had a lot of time off to play the game. And I can't really complain because also certain friends gave me a lot of time off to play the game. I just happened to be sick.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what's coming. I'm enjoying where we are. I feel like it is the ultimate palate cleanser after the shitty meal of Shadowlands.
Yes. It really is. It really is. And that's what's nice about it. It's so fresh. It's so rich in story. And, Shadowlands was a shadowy, dark time for Blizzard anyway, I think.
Yeah.
But it's, it's nice to have something great to speculate on. So, I've got one last question that came just on Twitter, which is kind of slightly unrelated but interesting, that I actually wanted to kind of touch on. And that's from Nippers, who wanted to kind of, I guess, ask where we wanted to, with all of this going on and all of this great WoW content that we can produce, like where do we individually want to see our kind of streaming careers, if you like, our streaming hobby develop over the next 6 months to a number of years? What is next for you? What are you doing?
I hadn't thought about any of this. And Kap said, "Oh, we got this great question," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." So what I will say is that I have definitely changed what I wanted out of streaming from when I started to now. So I've been streaming over 3 years with various levels of success and consistency. And at the beginning, I think I pushed very hard and burnt myself out.
Yep.
And then came back. And when I came back into daytime streams because I was able to do that with the work I was doing at the time. And that worked really well for me. And I really enjoyed it. And I went on a bit of a journey with Blizzard last year, the same as a lot of other people did. And I found myself in Final Fantasy and I really enjoyed that. And Dragonflight has reinvigorated me hugely for this franchise. And now, so the big change for me was I stopped raiding in January. I don't think I'm going to go back to raiding because I don't think I have the time to dedicate to it and to be a fully functioning part of a team, because it's not fair to step in and not be able to carry my weight. I don't want to do that to anyone. So the way I play the game has changed a lot. I also play Final Fantasy as well. And the way I stream has changed. So I stopped doing the podcast that I was doing, stopped raiding, I quit my business, I got hired by this really cool dude. And what that did, and we've talked about this anyway, what it did was give me headspace because I'd been running my own business, raising my kid on my own. Even though my hours physically in the business were not a lot, and I actually work more hours now, the headspace to actually think about being creative, having fun, doing the stuff that I want to do outside of work is now there. And I have more energy in the evenings than I did when I was working for myself. And people would be like, why are you, you stream in the evening, you could stream in the day. Like when I was first working for myself and I was streaming in the evening because I thought that was the best time.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually the best time for me. So I changed it to daytimes and it was great. Obviously I can't do that at the moment, but I do have more energy in the evenings than I did back then. So that's been really good. And that's been part of the journey. And where, like, I don't know where I want to be in 6 months. I'd love to carry on with what we've built so far. I am realistic enough to know that the growth that my community has seen since October-ish, when we did, I think we had 2 Dragonflight editions to give away, and then we had the beta key drop, which I think was at the beginning of October.
And things kind of exploded a little bit around there from a community point of view. You started to really see some growth.
Yeah.
Great.
We went from like 750 followers, we're now over 1,000, and that's the biggest growth that my community has had ever in that short of a time. And I know not everybody's going to stick around long term, but where we've got to has been brilliant. The fact that I have been able to work with Blizzard, which is what, come on Blizzard, he's right here.
Let me in.
That's been, and that, that's why I say hats off to Blizzard for the support that they've given content creators of all shapes and sizes and colours and religions and sexual preferences and whatever, we are, has been brilliant. So I would just like to keep it going. And I know it's going to drop off a bit. And I know that January is going to probably be a little bit of January blues going on. And I'm okay with that. I accept that because I've learned that I am not the kind of streamer that is going to turn partner in 2 months. I don't want to be that kind of streamer because frankly, it's freaking exhausting.
It's kind of scary as well, right? I mean, I think when you experience that growth so quickly, it must be kind of overwhelming. And let's be real. Most streamers, ourselves included, we've got full-time jobs. We're parents. We're fitting this in around our lives. Yeah. And obviously we've got 2 very different experiences. You're a single parent, which is tough. I have 2 other adults to help me, and it's still tough. So how you do it is
funny that we have similar conversations about the other parents.
Yeah, we do. Gotta love it. So the whole parenting joy. But we are fitting the streaming around kind of our lives. So I guess my answer would be similar in the sense that am I ambitious? Would I love to suddenly have 150 to 200 viewers every stream? Would I love to be a WoW partner? Would I love to spend even less time with my very forgiving partner, who thank God is a gamer, otherwise I would be single. Of course. Yeah. Of course. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Wouldn't it be lovely to be a Twitch partner? Wouldn't it be lovely to have all of these things? Wouldn't it be lovely to make enough money from streaming that, that it became a real side hustle, that it became, a bit of a pension plan, or because pensions are fucked, folks. That you've even noticed, but the entire financial system is designed to ruin us. Yeah. So, from an ambition point of view, all those things would be lovely. What I can envisage taking place kind of more realistically is hopefully continued gradual growth for our communities, for mine in particular. And I think, being able to kind of maintain a reasonable schedule of 3 to 4 nights a week, of just making content that people want to enjoy. And ultimately, that's why we do it, right? It massages the ego a little, if we're being real, to have people want to hang out and watch you, right?
You have to have a certain amount of ego to put yourself in front of cameras.
Yes.
But I would say that there is a flip side to that, which a lot of people don't often talk about, and that is the imposter syndrome, where you are out there talking about stuff. You've put your head against the parapet, and we've both had this where people are like, "You do what?" And people watch that and they donate money and you're like,
yeah. Sometimes you're like, yes, I'm as surprised as you are. But yes.
And it's, people are really dismissive of it, and you do get a bit of an imposter syndrome, but then you'll get lovely interactions with your peers.
Yes.
And what tends to happen, and a lot of people don't know this or don't think it actually happens, streamers, regardless of size, share information and share experiences. And one thing we do on Twitch now is we share our ban lists, and we take care of each other. There are conversations happening on Twitter, in DMs, and on Instagram, and on Discord, and in places that are private, where we support each other and when we lift each other up. And that's regardless of your size.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can, you can see who the good people are from that as well, and who helps. And there are some people that are just too big. There are people who are just too big to be involved at that level, but they still support the other people around them. And I think this launch has demonstrated that a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see that fostered a lot more within the streaming community, because there is a lot of negativity around it as well. And there's a lot of shitty people, unfortunately.
Yes, sadly.
Thankfully, I don't encounter them too often. But it is hard, and we do it because we love it. I started out thinking I'm going to be like the next big thing, and I'm going to be making all the money, and I'm going to be able to quit the cleaning the toilets. It's all going to be great. What a fucking idiot.
And then crash back to
Yeah.
oh shit, no, this is really
You're
hard.
streaming to like 3 people for like 6 months.
Three people who sometimes don't chat. I think
and 2 of them, one of them's on your own phone, on a dummy account.
One of them's like your boyfriend or your kid or your own phone.
Yeah,
but
and it's hard. So
it is hard.
I'd really just like to continue going at a steady rate, have the opportunities that we've had this last 3-4 months.
Yes.
Have those continue. Still enjoy both games. So enjoy WoW and Final Fantasy. And, just continue to grow. And you know what? Here's a really good answer for you, Nippers. What I want in the next year is to get to BlizzCon.
Oh.
There we are.
Oh, okay.
After all that chat, I finally found a goal.
That is a great.
And I've already got that goal. It's there. I've wanted to do that for a long time. So.
Okay, well, that's I think like a really interesting follow-up. So, I've mentally prepared some questions about streaming, because actually, I do want to kind of take us, as we've got time together, and this so rarely happens. Yeah. I think something that I found really useful is watching other streamers have conversations about streaming. So I think Gossip Girl and Chloe did a fantastic YouTube video where it was so insightful. I think on Neek's podcast, Here Be Dragons, the interview with OK Mage. That interview with OK Mage was brilliant. Just that honest, open, this is how my mental health and my world interacts with streaming and casting and doing all these things. I think, it's really interesting to talk about those challenges. What for you is the toughest thing about streaming?
Okay. This question was not prepared.
It was not.
As somebody who presents as female and considers himself to be female and feminine, there is a certain expectation around your presentation in a visual format. And one thing I do struggle with is how I look. And it is difficult, largely because I'm a little bit older. So there's a lot more grey hair. There's a nice big fat line across here. There's some clumping of the makeup going on at the moment because my skin is really fucking dry.
Oh, the cold weather.
Yeah.
The cold weather, people. It's not good.
So for me, there is sometimes doubt around how I look, how I present on camera, and making an effort to present the best of myself, and that's really difficult sometimes. And the flip side of that is that sometimes I'm like, fuck it. And actually on a Monday, because my Mondays are quite short on time, I tend to find on a Monday I stream with no makeup on quite a lot. And that has been challenging, because I do worry if people are judging me and going, look at this fucking middle-aged woman, why would I want to watch her? And that's quite hard. And that's all your own internal stuff, because nobody in my community has said anything like that. And frankly, if they did, they wouldn't be in the community for very long.
That's an instant bang, gang.
Yeah, it would, and it wouldn't be. I don't even think I would see something like that, because my community would probably take it down before I read it.
Yeah.
I have very good mods. I have the community itself is at the point where it's almost self-policing. So they, don't come in. But it doesn't stop me thinking it and feeling that way sometimes. And like coming here today, so I had an extended hotel morning. I had the most massive eye bags this morning. Louis Vuitton could have made sets of luggage out of them. They were spectacular. So, thank God for good lighting in here and specs that hide a bit of it.
We keep it soft and pink.
Yeah.
Our skin looks a lot warmer
Yeah.
than it actually either of us are.
But I sat in the hotel room with cold cloths over my eye bags, and then tea bags, cold tea bags over I didn't drink the tea. I just put the tea bags, made the tea, took the tea bags out, put them under my eyes. I was really worried about being on camera looking 107 years old.
Yeah.
And like I'd had zero sleep. So that as a woman who is not I'm going to say something that might be problematic here, ethot type, I have absolutely no problem with women who go on camera and shake their booties. They do it. It's what we do. But I still question how I look on camera, and I find that really hard. Sometimes I'm fine with it. Today, I'm struggling with it a bit. Yeah. I'm getting a bit emotional talking about it.
That's why I wanted to ask, because I think, this is one of the real, I think, things that people out there are other people out there that we know, we see all the time, that are, growing streamers who have these audiences of like 4, 5, 6, 7, and, probably think, look at people, doing what we're doing, how often have you been to somebody else's stream and sat there and thought, I could be like them, right? And actually, the reality I'm discovering is that there is a space for everything on Twitch. So people will come and watch your content because they like your vibe.
Yeah.
And your vibe doesn't have to be, let's take some great examples from our communities. If you have a look at somebody like Gossip Girl, he's like super high energy, blah blah blah, blah dance.
I don't know how she does it.
Likes.
It's amazing.
I love it. I love to watch it, but I'm just like, I could never. I just couldn't maintain that energy level.
No. Just to touch on that about somebody like Gossip Girl. I'm going to go a bit off tangent, but there's people like Gossip Girl who are amazing at what they do. And one of the things that I've learned from watching other streamers is how to improve my own stream.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've tried to build in a bit more in my own community and that I want to develop, and it takes more time because we're not doing it full time. So we don't have the hours in the day to say, I'm going to stream at 12, but in the hour and a half before I'm prepping, from 10 to 11:30, I'm going to create loads more interaction. I'm going to do all these things that will magically do stuff on stream. I want to do more of that, but I don't have the time to put into it. So it takes me longer to get those things happening. So I've learned a lot watching other streamers like Gossip Girl, and it's not necessarily that I don't feel now that I want to be them, but I do want to take elements of what they do and bring it into my stream. And there's a lot of people that I've learned. Gossip Girl is one of them. Chloe is another.
I was going to say, Chloe, again, another person that I've watched many times and just thought, I wish I could emulate this.
It's the level of interaction you have, Chloe, with your community is phenomenal. I love it.
Amazing.
And you are 100% yourself all the time. And that is also amazing. So from Chloe and Horty, I learned...
Another great name drop there.
From Horty, I learned that I don't have to be 25. I can be 44.
Yeah.
And stream, and people will still come and hang out.
Or even 80.
Yeah.
82 with our grandma. Another great streamer.
That was amazing to just see somebody who was kind and appreciative, and that's the strongest boundaries. And I learned that a lot from Horty as well. I realised I hadn't been good on my boundaries on stream, and I put that in, and that was a huge change for me. And then watching people like Dan, Mr. GM. And Tally, who are absolutely sarcastic and so sharp.
So sharp and so much sarcasm that sometimes I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
Are you just being shady or was that sarcasm? I can't tell. I love that.
Having met Dan, he is as sarcastic in real life.
I bet.
But you can see that twinkle, and he has such a good heart. He's a really decent guy. And I learned from them, from Dan and Tally, you can play with your food and eat it a little bit if you want to.
Yeah.
So, all those kinds of things I've learned by watching other streamers.
Yeah.
He's got a box of tissues in.
I have. I didn't plan to make anyone cry, but I do keep a box of tissues by my desk.
Yeah.
Mostly the Tuskar storylines, let's be honest.
Yeah. What about you?
Oof. So
making pain now.
Yeah. I think,
good job I can refresh my makeup before the party.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to gather myself as well. So this is hard to talk about for me as well, but when I was at secondary school as a gay man, an openly gay person in my teens, people will come for you for anything. And people were coming for me because, and we're gonna end the stream by doing a height comparison for comedy value, because I play a gnome. I'm actually 6'4", and I was about 6'4" from the age of 5. So because of that, I was born 6'4", and then effectively what happened is my entire epidermis revolted against me when I hit about 10, and I broke out in what can be described, I think, as the most prolifically foul acne that you will ever experience. So I was being picked on for everything. I did big ears. This one is in fact bigger than this one. Look closely. That's why I'm angled this way.
We'll measure them later.
You'll never see both ears at the same time. But I was being picked on for everything, and I got to the point where somebody was like, "Oh, you fucking queer then," and I was like, "Do I look like a straight man to you?" But that was it. And it was kind of miraculous. I shouldn't feel so the way I feel about it, I'm so positive about it. But from that point forward, I was bullied for my sexuality and just my sexuality. And weirdly, it felt like such a fucking relief that people weren't picking on stupid things about the way somebody looks or their height or their shoe size or whether they've got acne or not. These are not things people can change about themselves, and people need to fuck off coming for anyone about how they look.
We can't change our sexuality either.
Exactly. So if you're watching a streamer and they're not wearing makeup, fuck you if you think you have a right to say anything about it. Just fuck off. If you're watching a streamer and they, they're perhaps a little camp and they present that way. Fuck you if you think you've got any right to say anything about it. You don't. Okay? That's what I learned at school. You ain't got no right to come for nobody about how they look and present. But what I think scares the shit out of me is the fact that I could continue to be bullied for my sexuality in this streaming space. And it's fortunate that I haven't experienced it often, but it is something that I have experienced and I've seen other people experience. And sometimes somebody will come into your chat and they'll say something, you know, it might be like, "Ooh, what about this thing?" And you have this immediate fear where you're trying to figure out, is this person
the bigoted
friend
asshole
that's trying to
or
learn?
is this? Yeah.
Or are they an absolute asshole who's gonna literally come for me and my community in a second?
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. It takes me back to that place where, you know, I was walking into that school thinking, what are they going to fucking come for me today for? And, you know, normally, as I say, eventually it became just my sexuality, and you kind of live in fear. And I think I don't like to feel like that in the space that I'm curating, and I try and curate a safe space for the whole LGBTIQA plus family, because the LGB Alliance can fuck off.
Yep.
Twitch, what the fuck are you doing? Get them off of your fucking
There is a
parity
petition,
campaigns.
which I will share later.
Absolutely.
I saw Chloe share it earlier today.
Absolutely. If you're following any of us on Twitter, there is a petition to remove the LGB Alliance, I believe I'm speaking the name, from Twitch. They are anti-trans, they are hateful, they are not a charity. We should not be, and no one should be raising money for them. But, you know, for me, the hardest thing is that fear over somebody coming into this space and making it an unsafe space for the whole LGBTIQA plus community. Because that's what I'm trying to build. So that, I think, is probably one of the hardest things. I also have a lot of empathy for being an older gamer. You know, I say older gamer. I'm 40. You know,
we're not of the same generation.
We are. We remember the gummy bears, but
Mountain here and there and everywhere.
We are the gummy bears. Oh God, I love that. It's one of my favourite theme tunes. But
it was a fantastic show.
Oh, so good. But you know, it is difficult, isn't it? You put yourself out there, and especially when we've both got younger kids of a similar age who are playing things like Fortnite, and they're like, they almost like occasionally, almost inadvertently become kind of your kind of like negative inner voice, because they'll be like, "Oh, I watched this streamer on Twitch who plays Bullet Force or Fortnite, and they've got 1.7 billion viewers." And I'm like, how many do you have? And I'm like, yeah, not that many. So, you know, I think being of a certain generation it does make it harder. I think, you know, there is that. I came into streaming thinking that everyone wants to watch some sort of 20-something, if that, late teen, you know, hottie gamer. You know, absolutely hottie. That's the other thing. You know, as I get older, the body is not maintaining itself.
This is not the svelte thing you think it would be.
not as this. That is,
especially not after
there's a lot
eating at 10 o'clock last night when we were supposed to eat at 8:30.
Ooh, but yeah,
that's
you know,
a whole other stream.
I think those things are tough though.
Yeah, and everybody in content creation will find there is something. There will be something that is your kind of what's the word? Nemesis. There will be something that is your nemesis that you have to deal with, and you find a place that you're comfortable with, and then, you know, I've had people come into my chat, and when I came out as bisexual and somebody said, "Are you lesbi?" and bless Caldanon, it was like, well, they said, "Are you lesbian?" and somebody said, I can't remember who it was, "No, she's Demi." And then the next thing from this person was, "Will you peg me?" And Cal shut it down so fast, and I actually wanted to play with my food. I wanted to play with my food a bit because I was like, listen, I thought to myself, listen, sweetheart, if I was going to peg you, you'd be so intimidated by any strap-on that I supplied. You wouldn't want me to, would you? You just never look at your own manhood the same way again. Which is one that I'm keeping in the bank in case it happens again. But yeah, so this is another thing I learned from Horty was have good mods.
Yeah.
And have mods that you trust.
Absolutely.
So
mods that understand kind of your vibe as well. Yeah. Welcoming in Valistras, thank you so much for the raid. Well, it's a bit of a different show today. We're in conversation around Dragonflight and streaming. So welcome in, raiders.
Just as I'm talking about somebody coming in my chat and then saying, well, I pegged them.
And stuff. So if someone could get a shout out, Nick, I don't know if you'd mind doing a shout out for Valistras, that would be fantastic. But we will carry on our conversation. We've got probably about another 10 or so minutes of the stream. And I guess I kind of want to wrap up on a couple of kind of more kind of positive things. First of all, we're going to lift ourselves up again in these next 10 minutes. We've had the tears. First of all, what would you say to anyone out there? Neek saying, first time on camera a few weeks ago, absolutely terrified. Anyone out there that's thinking about pushing the streaming button? Yeah, thank you so much for having us on that podcast as well. Loved every second. But what would you say to somebody out there streaming, thinking about starting streaming, and maybe thinking about streaming World of Warcraft?
Just fucking do it. Seriously. So I'll tell you, one of the things that I did when I started, so the two people that I knew who streamed World of Warcraft at that time was Nobble and Taliesin and Evertel. And I went and checked out Nobble's YouTube channel. Well, I checked out both of their YouTube channels and both their Twitch channels.
Yep.
And I made a note of how long they'd been doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Taliesin and Evertel have been going about 3 years. I think they had 5 years. I think it was earlier this year they had their 5th year anniversary. It might have been last year. Anyway, it was about 3 years, something like that they'd been on YouTube. And Nobble had been on YouTube over 10 years at that point. And I was like, so these guys have been doing this for a while. This is not something that, for most people, there are those who get lucky and get partner very quickly or get thousands of squillions of followers very quickly or whatever. Yep. Partner isn't necessarily the best thing, by the way. That's a different conversation as well. But I looked at how long it had taken them to get where they were, and that gave me a much more realistic I don't ever think I don't plan to be in that kind of category of numbers of content creators, but it gave me it sorted my expectations out basically, and I saw how much work they had put in over those years, and I was like, okay, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not an overnight, I'm going to be a Twitch partner, I'm going to be getting all these sponsorships, I'm going to be drinking G-Fuel on stream, and I'm going to go down the gym, and I'm going to be this buff woman who everybody wants to sleep with and the girls want to be friends with, and it's all going to be no. I lowered my expectations, and I think it took me a while to learn to have fun with it. Mm-hmm. If you're not having fun, it will come across on your stream. And as an example, Monday night, I streamed for an hour. I was not having fun. And my kid came in and was like, I am not having fun in life. And I went, okay, I'm going to go and talk to you. And I stopped stream. And it wasn't until afterwards that I realised I wasn't having fun. I was too tired. I wasn't able to entertain the way I like to entertain. I wasn't able to engage with the community properly. Yeah. And actually, it was a good thing. Have a break. So just do it. Have fun. Have a break when you need a break. And talk your fucking arse off. even if you are streaming to your grandma.
Yeah.
Talk. Because I don't know if you've probably not encountered this because you don't have breasts.
I'm working on them.
But there is a common thread and a common meme about I don't get no streamers. I reckon all the girls get streamers because they're getting their tits out. No, mate. my tits are good, but they're not entertaining by themselves.
They are fabulous.
So people come to your stream because you're entertaining, because they want to hang out with you, because they like your vibe. If you are sitting there, whatever you are doing in a game, if you are sitting there, talk about what you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
Like, if you make a boo-boo, go, oh, I fucked up, you know? and just be a human being and narrate what you're doing, and then people will understand a bit more about who you are. They'll decide if they want to hang out or not. If you're just sitting there and you're death gripping the 8 millionth boss at the Argent, 8 millionth mob at the Argent tournament for a rep grind, and you're hitting.
And you see this, right? Some people do this.
Not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
I think there is a point that you reach in streaming where you have so many people in chat, or you're doing race to world first, or you're doing high keys. I couldn't do that and talk to people. And there are people who can do that. And there is a market for that audience when you are a exceptionally good player, you can do that. Because people will come in and they watch you to get better themselves.
Yes. Yeah, they
can't
watch the learning.
I have to talk. I have to be involved with you all, and you know, that's what I have to do.
I think the advice I would give anyone that's thinking about kind of clicking that button as well is to remember that you're the brand. You know, Warcraft isn't the brand.
No,
that's their brand, not yours. You know, and any other game, Final Fantasy, you know, whatever it might be that you're thinking about streaming, that's not your brand. You are your brand. So you've got to kind of take that approach of, you know, whatever you're playing, you know, don't give yourself a name that links you to a game, for example. Give yourself a name that's uniquely yours. Don't design all your content around a particular game unless you're willing to change that if you need to. And I think that lesson I think was painfully learned by a number of people when things happened at Blizzard, and suddenly it was like, oh, yeah, you know, my brand is intrinsically linked to this one product, this one company, this one game. How do I now establish my own brand beyond that?
Outside of it,
yeah,
without that taint.
Exactly. So I would say, you know, have unified branding, make it all about you, so that you're the brand, and then your audience will, you know, hopefully grow and come with you and you know, kind of connect with you, the person, the brand, the streamer, rather than, you know, the games that you're playing or the things that you're doing on stream.
I mean, I can be shit in any game.
Yeah. I can be shit in any game, anywhere I go. I love it. And that's it, right? You know, and sometimes that's part of your brand. You know, just not pro gaming is part of a number of streamers' brands.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the time, gang. We've got about another 5 minutes, and I just want to kind of ask you, who do you want to shout out? Who has kind of inspired you? Thinking about the world of Warcraft
I used to do this to people,
getting emotional.
and they used to hate me for this.
I know.
When we asked this question on the third faction, people used to be like, "No, I can't just do one person."
No, do as many as you like, because I think, you know, Warcraft's a big community, and it's a really rich community right now. So
it is.
Who should everyone be checking out? Who is inspiring you right now? What are you loving?
There's somebody in chat who I've seen pop up, lovely Laria, who so if you don't know who Laria is, she writes guides for healing and
yes.
In Final Fantasy and WoW, and it's just a lovely all-round super duper human being and deserves more success.
It has many plushies.
Many plushies, yes.
Which I find very pleasing.
Yeah. And deserves a lot more attention, and has done a lot in the WoW community that has gone under the radar,
Yes.
and deserves all of that. There are basically anybody in this chat right now who streams will be worth checking out your time. You know, and I'm going to miss people, and I'm sorry, but Totally EJ, who is co-host with Raven of Girls Gone WoW.
Yes.
Girls Gone WoW also have a big Discord community, and are probably one of the safest WoW communities out there.
Yeah.
Wochi, who has Dungeon Dojo, which is also a great community. Apollo, Gala, Chloe, Forty, you know, even like to the likes of the people like Nobble, Dan, Mr. DM, Corey.
Yep, Corey Mr. Nine.
Cell Heals.
Oh, Cell,
you know,
so good.
It's because of Horty and Cell we met at Cell's Pride event last year. That's how we met. There are an awful lot of very good people out there. I'd also like to say thank you to Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to get emotional again. Because part of the reason that I have had the opportunities I've had with Blizzard in the last few months has been because of Atlas. So Atlas, until very recently, was the community manager for Blizzard for Warcraft. And he came from a podcast background. He came from Warcraft Radio, which is now Bonus Roll. And I was already in one of the Discords, which is WoW content creators. It's not super secret. There's not like super secret squirrel stuff going on in there. It is where we support each other.
It's where we all secretly agree the nerfs.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Don't say that. Somebody will believe that.
Someone will believe us. It's not true.
No.
It's not true.
But I was in there on the back of the Third Faction podcast. But because of him and another friend of mine who was an MVP in the forums, I know that they put my name forward for Alpha this time. And Atlas has since moved on from Blizzard. But I believe they had a very significant hand in the amount of support that content creators across the board have had this time. And as somebody who came from a podcast, I'd started streaming before podcasting.
Yeah.
But as somebody who came more to prominence through podcasting, I actually felt seen in the Blizzard community for the first time. And it's quite daunting when you're in a community where Asmongold is in, even though he doesn't say very much. And you're like, this is the world's biggest WoW streamer.
Mm-hmm. It can be really intimidating.
And you're just kind of like, I streamed like 15 people.
Yeah.
And you're quite a big voice, and I don't necessarily agree with anything that you say. I know he has changed a lot of what he does now. Anyway. But I've now felt that I have a voice in there, and that is because of Atlas. So, Atlas, if you're out there, I don't for a second think that you're watching this, because I know your time zone and it'll be very different for you. Thank you. Who would you like to shout out?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna do probably an unusual shout that maybe nobody will know of, because my journey into sort of podcasting a little bit in the past and then sort of streaming really kind of came through two groups of people. So I don't know if anyone is aware of Scott Johnson, but Scott Johnson
Yep.
led what probably was one of the best World of Warcraft podcasts for many, many years, called The Instance. And they had their own controversies and things over the years. But Scott kind of, I think, again, as a more mature gamer, I think gave me a little bit of confidence. And I love a lot of Scott Johnson's content. So although that podcast has ended, the morning stream is a fabulous podcast to listen to, and Film Sack is brilliant. So that, I think, is a kind of I guess a bit of a shout out. And again, I don't think Scott would ever be listening to this, but it is somebody that I kind of think I would just recommend to folks. And go and check them out. Their content is really, really good. And then obviously Horty Chicken. You know, I mean, how can you not mention Horty Chicken?
Just actually have no idea of the impact that she's had on the community, I don't think.
Absolutely. And Horty has this fantastic phrase that I love, and I'm starting to kind of really internalize and live by, and that's the phrase that rising tides raise all ships.
Yep.
And I think, you know, you can be in this streaming space and feel quite intimidated and feel like I must protect my audience. They are mine. I must not let them go anywhere where they might have more fun. What if they have more fun over there than they have with me? Oh my God. And actually,
We'd be screwed.
We'd be fucked.
We'd be absolutely screwed.
You know, if everyone had that attitude, we'd be fucked. We wouldn't even be here. So, you know, we share quite a bit of audience as well. And I think, you know, what Haughty does for the overall community is a number of things, but I think, you know, demonstrating that a person of any age can game, fabulous. Having the intelligence and wisdom and education to tactfully and sensibly handle things brilliantly.
So graceful.
In terms of grace, boundaries, you know, helping other people. And Horsey once, I think when I first started streaming, said, you know, because I was in their community, said, "Oh, we're peers now," and I was like, you're this superstar person that I've put up there on a pedestal.
That goes back to the point earlier about as soon as you put your head above the parapet, you turn that webcam on, you are a streamer, and everybody's like, right, you're one of us now.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great, you know, in the streaming community and the Twitch community, that people are like that. That people are kind of like, no, you're my peer now. We're in the same space. We're working in the same way. We're experiencing
If you're in the arena getting dirty, you're in the arena getting dirty.
And I think that's really, really important. So I think, you know, Haughty taught me that, really. And then the other person who I have to name drop again is Cells Heels. Someone so unashamedly open about their sexuality and their place in our LGBTIQA+ community, who really tries to kind of reach out and connect other streamers to, you know, it's built part of building this fantastic teamwork, which is really diverse and fabulous. You know, I think what they're doing in the space and the push, the work they put in to get partner as well, just really inspirational. So. But we are coming towards the end, gang. It's been lovely to have you all, and thank you so much for watching any of our content, to be quite frank.
I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Every time I turn on the camera, I'm amazed people turn up.
That anyone's here. But it is fantastic to have you. Thank you for all of the follows that have taken place, for the raid, Valastris, for some of the subs and the gifted subs as well. Massive thank you to all of our mods. But for my channel, a huge thank you to Neek, who is both my favourite guild leader, and it's a little bit, you know, only
because I need to
bit. You can be my favourite streamer. Neek's my favourite guild leader, but
it might be mine.
Could be yours as well. You never know. My favourite guild leader and a fantastic human being, Bad Biddy Vera, who I really don't think understands how great they are and what a fantastic member of many Twitch communities that you are, and a joy and a delight to have around. So again, as a mod, thank you so much for just being here and catching the odd thing and, you know, helping out and just being a support. And also to you for modding my channel from time to time. It's very much appreciated. I will now, you know, do you want to do any shout outs for mods, and also tell us where we can find you on the internet?
You can find me anywhere where it says Demeternoth. Demeternoth.
The power of unified branding.
Yeah. Or sometimes Demeter does, but I don't really do a lot on those. So Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Spicy Site, Demeternoth, Demeternoth. Also, Spicy Stuff. Fucking great shoot this morning. I'm so pleased with it. So yeah, you can find me everywhere. Literally. Mods wise, Kaldanon is like the Uber mod. I have very regular community members. Nulgar, what is one that stands out? Lady A is also a mod. My Baifu, love you. Yeah, and I will miss people. Shamoz, who is an MVP on the EU forums, is also one of my mods. Anxiety Gamers, lovely human. I feel like I've missed somebody off the mods, but maybe that's it. I'm sorry if I missed you, mod. You are still valuable to me. Please don't hate me.
It's so hard to remember everybody in these situations. You're like, oh my god. Firstly, can I even remember my own Twitter handle? Yeah. But also, who are these people?
So just just everybody who comes out and watches streams and gets involved, and like, it sounds very cliche, but I wouldn't have kept streaming if I didn't have people who are engaged with me and talked to me and hung out. And basically you're taking time out of your day to come and hang out with us, and thank you, because it means a heck of a lot.
We appreciate all of you.
Yeah, we do.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here and for doing this in person as well. This was really awesome. If people have loved this, please let us know, because
Maybe we can do it.
we could do this again sometime. This has been really, really fun. It'd be really fun to do it on your new PC in your stream stuff at some point as well.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely try and make something like this happen. If there are any topics you want us to discuss, leave them in the comments below. Please click like and subscribe on both our channels. I don't care whose YouTube you're watching it on. It's so important and helpful. It's a free account on YouTube, and subscribing there doesn't cost anything. Please. But other than that, gang, you know who I am. I've been the TheKapFantastic. I am. Oh, what?
I've got one more thing to do.
I've got to stand up in a minute. But before we do that, I'm TheKapFantastic. I'm on Twitter @TheKapFantastic. I'm on Instagram, TheKapFantastic. I'm on YouTube /@TheKapFantastic. All of the places. So please go and look up all of our content online. The very last thing we're going to do on stream is a height comparison. We're going to stand by this shelf because people have been, confused about the height differences and confused about how tall I am as a gnome player. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to move our little thing, and we're going to, here we go, let's move the chairs. It's a very expensive stream setup, I have to say. These chairs are from Next. They're very velvety. Right, are we ready? I don't know.
You're going to actually
There
you are.
There you go. That's the height difference.
I'm 5'6", around, I think that's about 168 centimetres.
Hello?
I need to show you all something else, and I might need to use both hands for this. Oh, I can.
I do love those. You've got to try and stay fit and healthy.
I'm in Kat's room saying it's enormous.
Anyway, it has been lovely to have you. We would love to see you all again. Thank you so much. Don't forget to tell us, as I say, in the comments what you thought of this, whether you'd like more of it. And we will see you next time we stream. When are you streaming next?
Monday, 7 o'clock.
Oh, me too.
Get your mounts and
yes,
and all the things.
Absolutely. There will be drops on both of our streams. Monday, 7 o'clock. There've been drops today as well. So if you've been watching, you've been counting towards your jump. I don't know what's happening now. There's a dance routine. There's sounds popping off. Oh my god. Oh, I can't take it. Right, I'm going to push the end button. We're going to find someone to raid though. Oh my god. Hang on. Let's raid Corey because they're on. We'll go and say hi to the fantastic Corey Missile Die.
Hi, Cal.
We'll see you next time, gang. Thanks for hanging out. Take care.